What's going on, everybody? Today is June 8th. It is 8:30 in the morning, and it is officially day one of scouting for deer of the year. Now, I know most are like, why are you coming out here on June 8th? It's pretty early. It is pretty early, but for one, June 8th, it's early, but time in the woods is never wasted. Number two, I had nothing else to do today. And number three, if you're scouting in the woods, is it still considered too early? Is there ever too early in all reality? Because, when you're scouting, you're always finding new stuff. But today, we're coming out here. It is a new management area. It's a pretty exciting place, and I'm trying to figure it out. And to my knowledge, not many people know about this place. So I'm trying to keep it that way, which is why I'm not saying anything, because obviously I have right at 3,000 subscribers now. So I'm not trying to say any of that and put it out there. But with all of that being said, I'm going to take y'all along with me though, and we're going to do some scouting today. And this management area is primarily, I would give every bit of 90% pines, and you got about 10% bay heads that are scattered throughout. But you've got tall pines, you have short pines. It's pretty much predominantly all short pines with thick underbrush. So it's going to be something to learn for sure, but that's what we're out here doing. So I'm going to take you along with me and show you how I do it. So without further ado, I've got camera 1, camera 2 strapped on me, and I've got my bike, as always, and we're about to get at it, see what we can find. Well, I was coming down the trail, very first place I've gone to, and as I'm riding down, came about 200 yards down this trail, and as I told you at the beginning, this place is predominantly all pines and thick underbrush. That is, when I say that's what it is, that is all this place is. And you just got little plots of swamps, thick, nasty swamps, not big, mature tree swamps. I'm talking, little scrubby, just thick hog swamp, what I'd call it. Just thick, short underbrush the bears and the pigs love. But I found this oak tree right here. And I seen it, I said, well, let me go check that out. I walked over to it, and I found little acorn casings that were hanging around. They're rotted, of course, because they're not dropping now, but they're old acorns from last year. So I said, well, that's a good sign. And I look, and I just see oak tree after oak tree after oak tree, and they're all about this size. They go probably about 50 feet up, and they're all like that. And every single one of them have old acorn casings around it. And there's also deer tracks all around this whole little patch of oaks here. And these oak trees haven't been dropping for months upon months now. So, that's a very good sign that come hunting season, when these oak trees start dropping acorns, these deer are going to be probably hitting this spot pretty good for a good little food source. Because you got that big swamp that's coming, I'm almost to, I'm about 150 yards from it, and then it's just all the pines here. But finding these oak trees like this, in a big pine forest, predominantly pine, and not right by the road oak trees. I'm talking about the oak trees down deep in the woods, which is what these are. It can be a game changer. So I use the Hunt Stand app. Onyx is a good one too, from what I've heard and seen. Personally, I just use Hunt Stand because I like it. But what I'm doing when I get out here is every track that I find, any old rubs I find, the oak trees here that I'm finding, I'm marking all of this stuff, every single one. And like I said, even the tracks I'm marking. Normally I don't worry quite as much about tracks unless it's just a very heavily used little trailhead that you can find that's got a pile of tracks in it. But in a place like this, predominantly pines, the deer could be walking anywhere in here. When you mark every track that you find, you get home, you go over your map again, you will be surprised at how concentrated you can find that you've marked your tracks in. And it can give you a lot better idea and understanding of where you need to start putting more of your efforts in the scouting, hanging your cameras and hunting at. So we're going to keep on riding on and see what else we can find. Just parked my bike at an intersection here. Went walking down. Seen this old rub. As I've told y'all before, old sign is good sign when you're scouting new public grounds. That's an old rub, maybe 2 seasons ago. Might have been last season, but still, it's a nice little trail coming down through here. It's things like this you got to be looking for. While I was walking down the trail, I wanted to go further, get closer to the swamp down this trail that the deer are using. But I just don't want to go any farther because the amount of deer tracks I'm seeing on this trail already tells me that I'm going to put a camera here. But I don't want to go any farther because I don't want to jump any deer up. Now, even when you're early in the season like this, some folks I know, y'all don't really worry as much about spooking deer up because it's beginning of June. But personally, I would rather them never know I was there rather than know I was there one time. Which is another reason why I whisper and talk soft even when I'm just out here scouting in June. Because I do not. The more you can make it where you're not there, you're going to be better off regardless of how long the season is ahead of you. But this is looking really good. So we're going to put a camera up here. This will be the first spot for a camera. That trail's right here to my left that all those deer would come out of. Found that old rub. It's right here about 10 yards. And you got a road system coming this way, a road system coming this way. So it's a perfect little intersection. Now you're not supposed to be driving down these roads because they've got gates on them. So anybody that comes out here other than forestry, they can't be driving down here. So not really too worried about somebody seeing it. But one thing I do recommend to you, I'm going to put it on this tree right here. What I recommend is that you put it up high. And by high, I mean stand up on your tippy toes if you can, hang it up, angle it down. Number one, that's going to help you to keep bears from getting it. They still might get it just because, for whatever reason, the bears love to just follow your footprints and get up and tear your cameras up. But it'll help keep them from doing that, and also it'll help the deer from seeing it. Because even most people, and I was guilty of it for the longest time, you put your camera at waist height. Now when you do that, yeah, you're at the level of the deer, so you get a good side view of them or any turkeys or whatever, but that's the problem. You're eye level with the deer. And when the deer looks at it, some people got different opinions. Me personally, deer sees it, there's a good chance that he's going to want to come up and smell it. When he comes up and smells it, he's going to smell you on it. Now, you can use your latex gloves and all that, but again, like I said earlier, I would rather the deer have no idea that I was ever there rather than have just the slightest hint that I was there. So we hang this up high and angle it down. Helps keep the scent from the deer smelling it. Helps keep the deer from being able to see it. So, just a little tip for you. We got that camera about 6.5 foot off the ground roughly. It's angled down. Got this trail coming out here. Got this road system here. Road system here. So that way we're catching them coming down any of these little trails. We're going to pick them up. Let's get her set. I was riding along. Look what I found here. Another very nice sized oak tree. This tree is definitely mature enough that it's dropping acorns, or will be dropping acorns come season. And I'm looking at every single one of these that I find, coming over to them because I want to look, see if I can find tracks where the deer are still coming around in through here and just passing through. But I'm excited, y'all. Just seeing stuff like this is what gets me going. When you're in a place like this where it's just so full of daggum pines, and then you find these nice patches. I haven't found this in a lot of places. It's just a patch, probably 10, 15 acres, literally. That is just sporadic oak trees all in here, and they're in very good sizes. And then the rest is just nothing but pines. So, this is just one of them places that it could really have some good potential for a deer coming in here to feed. Now, acorns are fairly hard to digest for deer compared to other things like greenery, but still, we all know deer like acorns, especially when they don't have much of a food source to begin with. This would be a good crop for them. And it's different species oaks too, so that helps as well. walking along, found this old rub on a pretty nice size diameter tree at that. And then I found some really fresh deer track running right on through. I was just following the deer trail, or at least what I was assuming was a deer trail. Now it's confirmed that it is. And I found those tracks, and then I seen this rub on this tree. And I mean, it is gorgeous in here. It's thick, but I mean, honestly, this is a type of a spot that I would not have any doubt that there'd probably be some deer bedded up in here somewhere right now. So it's probably not the absolute smartest thing walking through here, but we need to scout and figure it out. Just try to do it as quiet as we can. But I mean, there's, even right here by me right now, there's deer tracks, but there's just oaks all in here. This is really good. This is another type of a setting that I like to see. As you can tell, there's not anything hardly for underbrush. I mean, it's pretty open, but all surrounding this is that thick stuff that I was just in. And then it's just this low open spot, and then it goes right back to thick. So that, to me, is a spot that I like hunting sometimes, because in my experience that I've had, you get a lot of deer that just pass through this little open spot. And there's a lot of little grasses that are growing in here that I'm not seeing in the other areas. So these could be spots for deer coming, forage a little bit right here. But there's a management area in particular. Actually, it's on my channel. I believe it's called Florida Public Land Hunting. The Rut is Heating Up. Whatever the first title is, it's called The Rut is Heating Up. And it's from a couple years back. But anyways, you'll see in that I'm on an archery quota hunt, and I'm in a little open spot just like this, and I've got a pile of deer that just keep crossing back and through bucks, does. It's a really good spot, but not saying this would be like that, but it could. But I'm liking what I'm seeing a lot, if you haven't noticed already by my excitement. Here's something that I hope y'all find helpful and interesting. Hopefully everything I say is helpful to some extent, but this in particular. I'm walking down this trail, as you can see, come across this little oak tree. Alright, okay, just another oak tree, cool. Well, got some limbs that are sticking out in the middle of the road pretty good. Now, oftentimes, in places like this where you have a trail coming through, during the rut, they'll be making scrapes along the edges of these roads. You'll see that a lot. Primarily in places where you can't drive down the roads. And right here is this one limb that's came out. And if you see these leaves right here on my fingers out, they're new leaves, new growth. Right on the tip of this stick, you can see right at the tip, it's bent over. That's got a break mark on it. And these new growth right here is nowhere else on this tree. All dark leaves, then you've got real light colored. That's new growth, because I'd about bet you anything that there was a scrape right down here during the rut. The buck came through, chewed on tips of the leaves, and made a scrape. About guarantee it. Just a little tip for y'all to be paying attention to stuff like that. It'll give you a good idea of where you might find some scrapes come the next rut. And look at that pile of daggum tracks. See the dirt tore up down there? Very fresh tracks. And another thing, it rained 2 days ago. Hard rain. So I know these are all within 48 hours, everything I'm finding track-wise. That's very good. So many flies, wild earner. Going crazy, shaking that head and flapping that tail. 12 o'clock in the afternoon, beginning of June. Absolute heat of the day.